Greetings, Darklings. I am Toasted Heretic, and today we are going to be looking at our fourth place in our bands that Americans think are goth, and us here in the UK definitely do not. So, number 4 in this show, we're going to talk about the Jesus and Mary chain. Now, to be clear, I have seen this referenced a number of times on Instagram and on TikTok, but not like the last one, number 5, which is Echo and the Bunnymen. These mentions occasionally mentioned, but I thought I'd cover it anyway because I can kind of see why. So without too much further ado, let's do the goth points. What are their goth points? So we have the Black Factor. I'm going to give the Jesus Mary chain a solid 6 on this. They did wear a lot of black, and especially in their early period, an awful lot of leather trouser action going on too, and they looked freaking fantastic in it as well. Big influence on young me being gothy, but I was also really into the Jesus and Mary chain, and took that as a bit of a cue. Especially, I also had a bit of a thing, and still do, for brothel creepers, which they wore with their leather trousers. It's a cool look, very based on that punk look, but which a lot of goth is, of course, especially in that early period. But yeah, so 6 out of 10 on the Black Factor. Now, on the Doom Tune Factor, I'm only going to give them 4, because while Jim Reed's got a deep voice and he can sound quite raw, a lot of the songs are love songs. You've left me, I'm pissed off, or I don't understand you because you're a woman, or I love you, and blah blah blah, and you get the idea. That's a lot of it. They did have a big thing for the word Jesus, and I understand that they're called Jesus Mary chain, but Jesus and gums turned up an awful lot in their lyrics. If you listen to them, there's a lot dying on the cross, there's a lot of gums, there's a lot of that going on, but they're not particularly doom laden. I think they're more aggressive or sad, which is very different from doom laden. Let's split definitions another time, shall we? Guyliner, I'm going to give them 2 out of 10 because they weren't really a band that wore eyeliner or any other makeup. They did have, though, fabulous big curly hair. In fact, my locks are quite Jesus and Mary chainy today, and that's very much part of that, and it kind of crossed over into the way they looked, and they hung out at goth clubs. I know because I saw them at goth clubs. At the Embassy in London, I remember seeing Doug, the bass player there. He was certainly the gothier of them, but I'm still not going to, I'm still going to give them to. They weren't really a guyliner band. Death Disco, do you ever hear them at a goth club? I have heard sidewalking at a number of indie clubs. I don't think I've ever heard it at a goth club, but I'm going to give them 2 for that. And Life After Death, or open brackets influence, I'm going to give them 1. Now that's going to sound harsh because they're not a highly influential band, but not goths. What they've really influenced is the dream pop or shoegaze scene, which that's really where their influence lies, and that really is where they're at as well. So Jesus Mary chain came from Scotland originally. Their first single, Upside Down to Corker, by the way, was released on Creation Records. Now, Creation Records was a little, at that point, very small independent record label run by a guy called Alan McGee. And even though they only made 1 single for Creation before they signed for Warner's, or WEA, depending on which side of the pond you are, and Alan McGee continued to manage them. So Alan McGee and Creation Records would then go on to discover and give us bands like Primal Scream, and of course Oasis. Oasis are a Creation band. We blame Alan McGee for Oasis, and but of course Bobby Gillespie. When I first saw Jesus Mary chain, Bobby Gillespie was the drummer. Stood doing his check shirt, banging away, and he's doing his stand-up drums and stuff. And he's the singer in Primal Scream. Have you seen Primal Scream? Have you seen Bobby Gillespie dance? They're not goths, yeah. And what were they then? They were a noise pop band. There was an awful lot of punk. There was an awful lot of scuzziness, and there was just a lot of 60s almost psychedelia and a lot of 60s girl group. That dum dum dum, that sound they used on a number of songs, especially early on. And the harmonies were all do-do-doos and all that stuff going on. It's like the Shangri-Las or the Ronettes were a big influence. They said at the time, that is not goth, people. But the death knell, I would say, in the goth argument for the G Mary Chain is the last time I saw them on tour, because I think this sums up brilliantly. I saw them live on the roller coaster tour. That was a multi-headline tour that went around pretty big venues around the UK, and it featured 4 bands, 3 of which were the Jesus Mary Chain, Dinosaur Jr. and My Bloody Valentine. Now that is their lineage. That's where they're from. They're from that pre-grunge, noisecore scene. That is where the Jesus Mary Chain head and come from. Incidentally, by the way, the 4th band on that tour were Blur. What were they doing there? I mean, Blur, with Dinosaur Jr., My Bloody Valentine, Jesus Mary Chain, they didn't go down well. Anyway, that's for another story. So, for me, and I think logically, the Jesus Mary Chain are never goth. So if you claim them, you're just wrong. 15 out of 50 on goth points. It's all over for the Jesus and Mary Chain. But they are a great band, and I recommend checking out Psychic Candy or Honey's Dead if you particularly want to go and check out something which is non-goth, but you probably, as a goth, still enjoy. That's it for this. Don't forget there is a series of these going on. Well, there's 5 of them, and on a playlist of non-goth, should we call it, or bands that Americans think are goth and us here in the UK don't. So remember to subscribe, and if you disagree, by the way, leave a comment. Just be polite about it. I will read them. I will answer to them. Do say, hey, you're wrong, you English muffin, or whatever you call English people, and make your point, you know. But remember to like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again. Until the next one, peace out.